I'll also quote something DCJ Mwilo said. She quoted and said, "Hey, you know, honestly, you cannot sit and decide I'm not going to heaven just because you felt I was guilty and I should have gone to jail, but because a lawyer stepped in, I did not go to jail."
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You are unable to prove your case. You can't hold that against me. So this other guy has representation and he's just nailing things on you. All you have is mimi sikufanya.
Wow.
It's
your
the
duty
court.
to defend.
It is my duty to defend you to the best of my ability. See, you know, you're just there because you know you're guilty, so I'm not giving you 100%. If there's an oncoming vehicle and you can see these are head-on and there's one passenger over here, you know, someone who's just walking, what would be better? For you to hit this one and preserve the 14 or for you to hit the 14 and preserve the 1?
Wow, yani kali. Hi and welcome to In Focus, the program that brings different men and women in different areas of expertise. Some have stories that, you know, will encourage, others that will cause you to think about how to make your life better. Today in the show, we have a great woman, I must say, a beautiful one at that is in the field of law, and I will allow her to introduce herself and tell us as much as she would wish to tell us about herself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello. The name is Mercy Ndungi Mwisio. An advocate, a mother, a wife, and a Christian lady, born again for that matter. I am the managing partner of Ndungi Mwisio and Company Advocates, still a businesswoman in the construction field. Though I'm not the managing partner, I'm still a partner with Kitui Precast and Concrete Products, where we deal in concrete products and manufacturing building materials, sorry. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
pretty much it.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Quite, what's the word? Organized. Let me just say, an organized way of, introducing yourself. So tell me, Mercy, how long have you practiced law, whether privately or as an employed person?
Since my admission, it's been 1 year.
All right.
Yes.
And so before, what would we say? Before admission, you were still in the field of law.
Yes, I was. Before then, I was a lawyer. But at the time, still running. I was running White Hat Properties, which is a real estate company.
Yeah.
Where we deal with buying and selling of land, waste management, property management, and more.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to begin by asking what you might consider a comical question, but there's always something about law students and English language. And I've seen many students devastated because they never got the grade that would allow them to be admitted to practice law, or to study law. So does it always have to be you must be really fluent in English? What about in cases where the client, although the client may not really need to speak, it's the lawyer, but clients that don't even understand that English and you have to represent them. So what is it with law and English, particularly in our country, Kenya?
English is a medium of communication. And being a lawyer, you need to communicate.
Okay.
Now, representing your clients, there's a reason why you're representing them.
Yeah.
So that whoever you're representing them to, you need to be able to reach them. And that's basically communicating.
Yeah.
And the English language is not just about in Kenya. If I go to Uganda, if I go to Rwanda, I can speak to a judge. The judge will not understand Swahili, will not understand Kamba, but they'll understand English.
Yeah.
So it's about the Commonwealth countries.
All right.
Who will be able to, basically, mostly the law as we have it right now came from England.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to communicate across the Commonwealth countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's usually, basically the admission is usually very high in Kenya. If you don't get a particular grade, you're not even allowed, you're not admitted to law school. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah.
So why do they make it so difficult? And yet there are other careers like journalism.
Well, you know, for lawyers, the biggest thing about being a lawyer is being able to think critically.
Okay.
And outside the box.
All right.
So if you're going to find, I believe, for the years I have observed mentors and other people that I admire, if you're going to find one who's successful in their craft, there are people who think outside the box. So you need to be very critical in your thinking. And for such people, you have to be sharp.
All right.
If you're going to have just anybody do law, yes, there's the law in the books, but then practically speaking, you need to be able to think so that you know what to apply from the books.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so talking about law and representation, many times, at least when I was growing up, I would see people go to court to represent themselves. And sometimes there's that aspect of, if you don't have a lawyer, one will be provided for you by the state. But some people would opt to represent themselves. So what's the place of being represented? Many Kenyans don't know the importance of being represented till today, or they cannot afford. So what's the place of an ordinary Kenyan seeking the services of a lawyer?
I'll take that as, I'll give an example. If you're sick, you need to see the doctor.
Correct.
And Swahili, they say, mganga hajigangi. I'll just keep it as that.
Wow. That's quite to the point indeed. But I think it was more out of ignorance. So if you cannot afford a lawyer, the state provides one for you.
Not in all instances, but for capital offenses,
What are capital offenses?
We have murder, we have manslaughter, treason, you know. They are offenses that attract a life sentence. Yeah.
Okay.
So for such, you know, you need representation, because simply telling the judge that I'm not guilty does not cut it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that will take us to the aspect of discussing guilt, where you're told it is the responsibility of the court to decide the guilt, your guilt.
Okay.
So you might have your, you know, there's the factual and the legal guilt, The fact is, I am not guilty. But what does the evidence say?
All right.
Legally, you're guilty.
Okay.
So it is upon the lawyer now to represent you, to show that you don't need to spend your life in jail.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's a bit dicey.
Yeah.
And for such, you know, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. So if I can raise doubt in your case, then I can allow you time to still walk free. But you still have been punished kidogo.
There's someone that's asking, what does dicey mean?
Tricky.
I know it has nothing to do with the law. It's tricky. Hey, no wonder you guys are taught to study English plus, English plus. Now, most people don't know their rights. You know that. I'm not assuming. I've seen it. I mean, the less you know, the better. Anyway, depending on who. No, it's not something I support. But depending on who is to benefit, the less you know, the better. What can people do to know more about their rights?
Study the Constitution. The Bill of Rights is there, Chapter 4. Just go through it. That's why when this new Constitution was being introduced to us, there was civic education. And I think every homestead in Kenya, unless they have used it to, you know, light their jikos and all that, there's a constitution somewhere, because everyone was given that constitution. It's basic. You have to know your rights.
Okay.
It's not whether it benefits you or not. It's actually better when you know your rights and know how to navigate around it than not knowing it at all.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's easier said than done, but clearly, if you were to do a random, even just a market survey, go asking out of every 5 people, well, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? You'd actually be surprised, and I know you're a lawyer and you understand that. Many times this constitution has such legal jargon that many people are like, I just need someone to interpret for me and tell me what this means, because even the term, when you go to court, there's the offender and the offended. I'm using layman's language. But how many Kenyans understand that? They need someone to interpret for them.
I think in your... I don't know what lesson they have nowadays. Social studies, I think. Yes. Some of these terms, they've been spoken about, and if people just paid a little attention, they'd know what it is about. Looking at the constitution that we have, the writers, they tried as much as possible to keep it simple. To keep it so simple for the ordinary mwananchi to be able to pick out a few things. And especially on the Bill of Rights. It's so elaborate, you'd know what is required of you when someone is, coming against you and all that. And I want to tell you that most people actually know their rights. Not that they don't know. What I've seen is that they have fear of expressing their rights. So that this is wrong. I mean, you don't even need to know your rights per se. You just need to feel that whatever is being done right now is not right. And you'd know. Growing up as a child, I remember my mom would tell me, we're going to AIC. No. At the time, she had gone to a Pentecostal church, and I had grown up in AIC. So I want to go to AIC, and she says, we are going to full gospel. So I'd sit, and in my small mind, I'd be like, no, I think children have rights. And their rights have to be protected. Siwezi forcewa kwenda church, yenye sitaki. So the fact that I would feel that, I did not know anything about the child's right, but I knew I should have freedom to associate, freedom to express myself. So I said, I'll understand this thing one day. And that is how I ended up actually doing law. Because I wanted to understand this thing. I believed people have their rights, Bana.
That inquisitiveness.
Yes.
Maybe was an indicator. Are you argumentative, naturally speaking? Do you love to argue at a personal level?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It depends, actually.
True.
If you say something that I should agree with, and when I think about it, it's agreeable, it's okay. But if it doesn't sit well with me,
you will not just say yes.
No.
All right. So let's talk about specialization. Many times people think a lawyer is just a lawyer. If I have this problem, I'll just look for any lawyer. So in your case, have you specialized in an area?
Well, considering the time that I worked before my admission, I've done a lot of conveyancing. So it's something that I love. And if you woke me up at night, I'd still do it. I also love family law. Because of course, it has something to do with children and their rights and family, inheritance.
Divorce issues.
Divorce, yes, just family, everything about family. Succession is about inheritance. So those things. And then now, in terms of, besides the passion, when I studied law, what drew me to it is corporate law. I want to sit and negotiate deals for you. I want to, make sure you get the best.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned conveyancing. Did you call it conveyancing?
Conveyancing, yes, land.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, thank you for saying that, because I'm not so sure everybody understands what that means. And so talking about conveyancing, it's a place that draws a lot of conflicts, both in family and particularly in family. And many people just, and sometimes particularly women, end up suffering because they are nowhere in the documents that say you're legally married to this man. So in the event of anything, most actually find themselves homeless, depending on what kind of relatives they are. Not all relatives are bad, but there are those that once, after all, there's nothing to show you belong to this man. So what would be your advice as you talk about that conveyancing to people that live together, but they are not legally married? They are married according to the people who see them walking together, 4 kids later, but nothing to show for it.
That was a big problem before 2014 until the new Marriage Act, the revised Marriage Act came, which allowed for people to register their marriages, including the traditional marriage, which was not recognized initially. But even so, when it comes to people who are still living together, I'd encourage them at least do the traditional ceremony and get a certificate. You can still do that.
Okay.
In case your husband has passed on, the law still recognizes the common law marriage, which is what we'd call it. There's the issue of the presumption of marriage.
All right.
So it's upon you, go to court. Don't shy away, go to court and claim for what you believe is yours, and allow the court to decide on whether you are married or not.
Okay.
But don't sit on your right and let people, crush you.
All right.
For not having a certificate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. So there is a story I watched, comedy again. I think comedy lengthens your life. Laughter is medicine to the heart. And one of the comedians acted Satan, and then he was calling out the evil people that need to go to hell. I know you know where I'm going. So he said all the Germans, I'm quoting a comedy, so I have no offense against any Germans. And then he said, he called a few other categories of people. Then he said, all the lawyers come forward. So what's your take on this perception by the public that lawyers are not good people?
There's something, I'll also quote something DCJ Mwilu said. She quoted and said, because honestly, you cannot sit and decide I'm not going to heaven just because you felt I was guilty and I should have gone to jail, but because a lawyer stepped in, I did not go to jail.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You are unable to prove your case. You can't hold that against me.
Yeah.
And if I'm not going to heaven, you're also not going to heaven for judging me. Yeah.
Oh my, and heaven belongs to God,
See,
wow. Okay, sawa. So now, let's talk about lack of respect for the law. I've watched and many times I've felt, I don't know, maybe it's a society we live in, whereby court injunctions are given. What are they called? This thing that stops you from a court order.
Yeah, let's talk
yes,
about
a court order. And people totally disregard it and do what the court said they shouldn't do. How do you explain that from a lawyer's perspective?
We live in a community, and the whole point of law is to bring order. Now, when someone goes against a court order, literally, they're saying, I don't care what the court has to say. And you see, when you do that, when you come to court, when you're required to come to court, do you expect to receive justice as well? Because today, you might have an order against you, but tomorrow, you'll also be seeking that order.
Right.
Against someone else. Do you expect the other person to obey your order but you don't obey someone else's order. So it has to be even. It actually, obedience of court orders, it has to be, in as much as it can be enforced, it has to come from within you. You know that today you might be the aggrieved person receiving the order, but tomorrow you might want the same order to be obeyed.
All right.
Yeah.
So what about cases where, because of the political scenario in Africa, you can be acquitted because you're politically correct, but one judge, after all evidence has been provided, actually saw that you are guilty as charged, but because you're politically correct, someone decides you're no longer guilty, hiyo kesi tupiliwe mbali. Well, how do you explain that from where you sit?
What you're asking brings in the aspect of public policy. How much harm would be caused, if I pronounce you guilty or not guilty? What can I do to preserve the peace?
Okay.
It's a lot. Again, it goes to the judge to decide. There are things you just, especially with public interest cases, there are things you have to weigh for the greater good. There's this thing about accidents. Where you're told, if there's an oncoming vehicle and you can see these are head-on, and there's one passenger over here, someone who's just walking, what would be better? For you to hit this one and preserve the 14, or for you to hit the 14 and preserve the 1? So you see, it's a question, and that question, once it's presented to the judge, they have the discretion to decide your guilt.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you believe in divine justice?
I'm a Christian. And not just being a Christian, even for those who are not, there's karma, which is still divine justice.
Yes.
So, karma is there.
So as we talk about that, it's a lesson to the world and to those that are watching that when you think you've escaped, there is that hand of God that cannot be
It has
twisted.
a way.
Yes.
Has a way of finding you.
Yes.
One way or the other.
One way or another. Wow, interesting discussions, and indeed, I'm learning a lot, and also I'm sure the viewers are learning a lot, even though there's a lot of legal jargon that, again, we cannot...
From me.
Yeah, because you're a lawyer. There are things you assume because that's your everyday language. But I guess that's a point of also us researching. Yes, it's simple, but maybe not to everybody.
Okay.
But I'm just saying I'm learning. I'm learning a lot. Good. So viewers, we're going to go on a short break. And when we come back, we will continue with the show. This is In Focus, and I am your host, Ann David. Welcome back to In Focus, and today we are graced to have Mercy Ndungi, an advocate practicing in the county of Kitui. Now, as we talk about law, Mercy, there are cases where, and there is one particular incident where there was an accident in Nairobi, and a lawyer represented the families of the deceased and some that had been hurt, and so compensation and all. But the guy disappeared with the money. And I ask myself, in terms of millions, what gets into a person to be so unfair to people that lost their loved ones? I mean, and I know for you, maybe you wouldn't do that. But there are people, someone has trusted you and they've said, go to court, represent me. In the event that I get compensation, then at least it will be a small way of me dealing with the loss. But someone just disappears with the money. So what would you say about lawyers and public trust?
Public trust is basically about your integrity. And the law profession,
Yeah.
the biggest value in it is integrity.
Yeah.
Because if I cannot trust you to represent me, then I don't need your representation. So why are you a lawyer again?
What if the trust has been violated after the ruling, so you never knew that this person...
I understand that.
Yeah.
So the issue of integrity, that's why we have the Judicial Service Commission, we have the LSK, we have bodies. We have the disciplinary tribunal for advocates as well.
Yeah.
You can go report to them for such cases, which are not so many, but they're there. But the law profession in itself is about integrity.
Okay.
It's built on that trust.
Okay.
Because that trust is everything. That's why you'll talk about, you can tell me anything as your lawyer, and it's guarded by the privilege. You know, I cannot discuss it with someone else. I cannot use it against you with someone else. I cannot, publish it. It's information that is privileged.
Yeah.
So if our information, the information you give me, if it's not guarded, that means you cannot trust me to protect it. That's why you'll have issues with your friends, knowing that you killed your husband, but you'll come and tell your lawyer, but I killed him. Because he was, and you're telling me you killed him. I'll not be surprised, but I'll ask you why. What happened? Because from where I'm sitting, you just can't wake up and kill someone.
Yeah.
Something must have happened for you to kill them. Unless now, if you just kill them, now we'll take you for, some mental checkup and all that, because we don't think a normal human could just kill someone.
Okay.
So the relationship between a lawyer and their client, a lawyer and the public, is based on trust.
Okay.
And that is why, for us, relationships can be a bit tricky.
Yes.
Because I have to be a friend to everyone somehow. Because you'll trust me with your problem, someone else will trust me with their own. When you meet people who are, how do I explain it? They're so restricted on the relationship aspect. You'll find now, because Anne is my client, you cannot come to me because you think I know your secrets or something. But it's not about that. It's just about trust. You can trust me with your own, someone else can trust me with something else and all that. When you violate that, whether it is with money, it is information, it cuts across.
All right.
And where that has happened, we have bodies.
Okay.
That you can go to and, report the cases.
Okay.
And the other lawyers, the senior ones, or the ones who have been chosen in those tribunals, will come after you and find out what happened.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, there's always two sides to a story.
Okay. So, in other words, what I hear you saying is that it's possible, it's highly possible that there are innocent people that are behind bars, while the guilty sometimes can walk scot-free.
Yeah, sure.
Depending on how the lawyer argues their case. Wow, that's the irony of life. And it reminds me of a story I saw, and it saddened my heart, honestly, I guess. It's just the thought of a man's life wasted. He was jailed for 36 years. And on the 36th year, after the judge scrutinizes the case, he decides this man was jailed. In other words, hakukuwa na makosa. This guy was just jailed unlawfully. 36 years. You can't go back in time and recover 36 years.
Depends. Depends. Because, most of the time, if you look at it closely, you'll find that most people who are jailed and are innocent are people who believed that they had the truth on their side.
Oh.
So they never sought out representation.
Okay.
Yeah. So this other guy has representation and he's just nailing things on you. All you have is mimi sikufanya.
Wow.
So you see there's evidence, the factual and the legal.
Yeah.
And the court decides on the legal guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, it's very important to try and have legal
representation.
representation.
Yes, always.
Yeah, you started by
Always.
telling us a sick person needs a doctor. You go to school because you don't know everything. You need a teacher to teach you. And also what you've said about integrity. I believe in every industry we have quacks, we have professionals,
Sure.
and we have people of integrity and those that lack integrity.
Exactly.
So where do we draw the line in terms of when we talk about ethics? Have you ever come across, in the few years you've practiced, a dilemma? Because your industry has a lot to do with dilemmas. Before you go, whenever I watch movies sometimes, I see there's a short break, court is in recess or something,
Yeah.
and then they go to a back room, and the lawyer is asking, why didn't you say this, Or they're looking for a way to convince the judge. So what's the ethics of you knowing your client is guilty, but you need to win this case? And particularly as a Christian now, this I make it more personal. Will you sleep well? Utapata usingizi?
Utalala tu. The thing is, again, it goes back to the issue of guilt. The legal and factual.
Yeah.
And duty. I have a duty to defend you. It is not my duty to decide whether you're guilty or not.
Wow.
It's
your
court.
duty to defend.
It is my duty to defend you to the best of my ability. See, you're just there because you know you're guilty, so I'm not giving you 100%. I should give you 100% that any other lawyer who's seated next knows I'm actually defending you.
Wow.
I'm not trying to tank your case.
So no emotions whatsoever.
You have to get a grip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you cannot. We're always told that you should separate your emotions, with the case. You cannot become emotionally attached.
Okay.
And if you find yourself you're too close to the case, you can always refer them to someone else, or recuse yourself from the matter.
All right.
And not. You have to talk to your client.
Okay.
For them to be willing to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can a husband defend the wife in court?
That would be too close home.
Okay.
So
basically,
just get someone else.
All right.
Because you're emotionally attached to this man.
Yeah.
It's
like a parent who is a counselor trying to have
Counsel
their
their
son
own
or
child.
daughter as a client.
Yeah.
It may not work much, even though they may be the best, the best counselors. So what would you say is a place of law and faith? Not ethics this time, because ethics is black, gray areas. But now, talk from a Christian's perspective, because we have, I believe there's a body of Christian lawyers, is there?
Yeah, it's there. But the law and faith. Your faith acts as a compass. Yeah, helps you know what to do, when to do it. And anyway, we ask for the Solomonic wisdom.
Yes.
In all that we do.
Yeah.
We ask God, show me what I'm supposed to do. Show me what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to say. Show me how to judge this from that.
Yeah.
And how to defend my client to the best of my ability.
Okay.
So faith and the law, as any other profession, it's a compass.
All right.
It points you to what you should do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm asking you that because I believe sometimes when you have genuinely, businessmen and women that have a personal walk with God, there's something about their dealings that stands out when they are dealing with their customers. Shrewd, it would be funny to meet a shrewd Christian business. The two don't go hand in hand. You get what I'm saying? No, what I mean, it makes you think like faith and you're a shrewd businessman. I know we have them, but I'm just saying it doesn't go hand in hand.
I think
you're thinking too much as a lawyer, but
it goes
okay.
down. It goes
Go ahead.
down to how we define shrewd. For me,
Cutting corners.
Okay, that's a corrupt one. Because for me, shrewd is aggressive, and I have seen businessmen who are aggressive and
So
they're still Christians.
positive?
Yeah,
Shrewd?
positively.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean that one.
The
Cutting
corrupt
corners,
one.
yeah.
Okay. So, but you can be, because there are these people you're told if that guy you sit down on a table with them, you'll not get that deal. But they will, in as much as they are Christians, because their negotiating skill
Are on another level.
exactly.
Wow.
And my best businessman, I've followed what he has done so far, and even his preachings. Reverend Kuehler,
Yes.
he's a shrewd businessman, very aggressive.
Maybe our understanding of shrewd then is a bit different. But from the explanation you've given, then it's possible to meet shrewd Christian businessmen and women?
Yeah, someone who's very aggressive. They know
Maybe
what
let's
they
use
want.
the word
Let's
aggressive.
use aggressive, okay.
Yes.
Someone who's very aggressive, they know what they want, they know they have it, and they can get it. Yeah.
Okay. So in other words, we as Christians, we can be aggressive, but not cut corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. So talking about faith, that's why this brings me to the question of, does faith make you necessarily a better lawyer? And I'm not against people of other religion, other faiths, or those that claim that there's no God. But now for you as a Christian lawyer, does it somehow give you leverage because of your faith in your practice? And you're not just speaking for yourself, but you're speaking for many others.
It gives us leverage because of God. Yeah, God. He takes the center stage. So sometimes you're presented with some funny scenarios. You don't know what you're supposed to do or say. I found myself actually just telling God, give me the utterance.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say here.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But then I'm reminded of something that I studied in school, you know.
All right.
And now I can present it.
Okay.
I don't know how the other people do it.
Okay.
But for me,
Yeah.
my faith has helped me navigate the corridors. Considering I'm 1 year old.
Yes.
1 year old.
Yeah.
It has helped me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, we cannot disregard the many years of study. So I don't think the practice alone is what has brought you this far. All the years of study plus the 1 year, we would be talking about 8 years, right? Thereabout.
I think it's 10.
Yeah. So we cannot ignore the 9 years. I think the 9 years was like the foundation of the house. So what we are seeing right now is the interior design or something. The 1 year.
We learn.
Yeah.
Every day is a learning day.
Yeah.
Whether you're in practice or you're doing books, you're interacting with people, you can learn a lot from anyone.
Okay.
And practice, I want to believe, is about relationship
All right.
and communication.
Okay.
So there's what is in the books,
Yeah.
but how do you get it across to people?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you have learned how to interact with different people on different levels, it helps a lot.
Yeah. One time I talked to a friend of mine who is in the law, field, and I was asking him, he works for one of the leading firms in this country, so I needed commissioner something signed. So I asked him one or two questions about case representation in court, and then he told me the least we charge here is 2.5 million. I just laughed, believe you me. Hizo ni building zote za foundation ya nyumba. One case 2.5 M, but of course I can't name names here, but you would understand. So it makes it almost out of reach for ordinary Kenyans. I mean, representation in court. I could be wrong. But you correct me.
It depends. Mostly, by the time, different cases attract different billings. Yeah.
Okay.
So hard charge a murder suspect whom I have to defend will not be the same way I charge someone who you owe 30,000 to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the hours I'll take into, preparing for your defense are a lot.
True.
And the risk as well.
Yeah.
So you might as well pay my pension for that risk.
Yeah.
Before we are done with your case. Hey. So that would tell you why maybe they'll charge 2.5 million.
Yes.
Others 30 million.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to the young aspiring lawyers that some, clearly they were born to become lawyers. But there are some that find it like it's the job. When you were growing up, people would love to say, I'm a pilot, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. Judge kidogo, we leave it because I guess it's a journey to becoming a judge. So what's your like advice to aspiring lawyers, or they're already in law school, and there are two lessons you can tell them about the world of law?
Well, what can I say? Hard work, relationships, communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hard work, relationships, which we can also call networks, and communication, right?
Yes.
So one last question is if money was not a problem. I mean, nobody ever has enough, including the trillionaires. They are there, but they never say they are trillionaires. They just say they are wealthy. If money was never an issue for you, what is the one thing you would do to make the world a better place?
Love.
Wow. Explain love a bit.
Love, if we can consider each other, being considerate of each other. Yeah, that's how to explain love. If you'd consider your neighbor, the other child, goes down to what you wouldn't have done to you. Don't do it to someone else.
Right.
It would make the world a better place.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's the law of God on loving others as you love yourself, and don't do to others what you wouldn't wish done to you.
Yeah.
So if people would like to get in touch with you, are you on social media anywhere? I mean, because at some point someone will need, representation, and they could remember, oh, I saw Mercy, and she could be she could represent me.
We're on social media. On Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter as NM Law, TikTok as well, NM Law. Our office is at Bonus Mall, opposite KCB, second floor, Suite B6. That's where you find us in Kitui.
All right.
You can also email us at muisioadvocates@gmail.com. You can as well call the office line, which is 0714 538 693.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mercy, for coming. Indeed, it's been a pleasure, and I've learned a lot as well. And I know this is just scratching the surface. If I was to go into details on your area of specialization, that would need another show. But who knows? One day we could meet again and talk about this. So I thank you so much for coming. I believe as the viewers watch this, they are also learning something. And in matters law, we should not be ignorant, because ignorance is not a defense, not in this country or in any other country. So until next time, this is Anne David on In Focus saying God bless you.